You have your opinion. The problem is you think it's reality. All right, I'm live. I got these headphones on because I'm not at work. I'm at home recovering from a very cool, I would say 4 days, 5 days at the seminar. And I thank Amir for hosting it again. The guy has got himself a nickname. So, what's up, Donnie? What's up, Zed? Got himself a nickname this weekend. Everybody gets a nickname. That's how it is. Hi, Marina. Yeah, I got just exhausted from the weekend. Exhausted from the weekend. But, I mean, unbelievable people down there with some great dogs. And I don't say that lightly, you know. Um, I really don't say that lightly. If you know me at all, you know, I'm not the positive, negative, positive kind of guy. I'm like, yeah, that's just the way it is. And really some great teams down there, really from Michigan, New York, Florida, Maryland, um, and all over the place. It was just, I, I very rarely get to teach um, instead of argue with people. Hi, Heather. Um, you know, it's unbelievable how many people don't, and it happens to me on a daily basis. How many people come, they say they want the help, but they don't really want the help. This was, for the most part, this was very different. This was a bunch of people who had great leadership skills, who wanted very much to learn and were open to it and were kind to, well, at least me. Sometimes they were brutal to each other, but you know, the first day was about team building and trying to understand some stuff. And then the second day was application for the most part. And I mean, you know, great dogs. I can't say enough. I really can't say enough. So, hi, Amir. So yeah, I mean, it was an absolute great time. I wish I had a month to spend down there with everybody and train with them. Clay, you know, he did a great job. He's the guy you want to go to when you want to straighten out your obedience and just get things just right. I'm much more of a here's a problem, let's get to the bottom of it behavior guy. So it was cool. I actually got bit a little bit. See right here, just this little tiny bite from Emily's Malinois, little female Malinois, little punk ass bitch, but very nice dog. And it was, I think, for a lot of people, it was one of the most boring parts of the seminar. But for me, just kind of giving narration to the behaviors that were happening and calling them out that was one of the highlights of my weekend. So I was looking for somebody. What's up, Keith? What's up, Steve? Chris, what's up, man? There's a reptile guy. Listen, if you guys are ever in Rhode Island and you're into the reptile game, you want to go see my man Chris down at Sabrina's Reptile Kingdom. This guy, straight up honest guy, always takes care of me. Always. Very nice gentleman, very fair, down to earth guy, and I love doing business with him. And I'm a big reptile guy, so check it out. I wanted to get someone who was at the seminar and kind of talk to him about online training, and then I wanted to maybe get some other people's opinions on it. You start writing on the chalkboard. No, that's not in reverse, Donnie. That's because of the way the camera is. So you'll have to figure out what it says by yourself. But yeah, it's weird because I have to look at myself so I know where everything is. So everything's in reverse. Yeah, or I have wild dyslexia. So yeah, I just want to talk about online training, and everybody's always on me to, you know, hey, how do you fix this online? How do you do this online? How do you do this? You know, social media is great. I mean, I think when someone's super advanced, you might be able to get a little bit done. But even Clay and I were problem solving and it just, the interpretation is just a little bit off. It's not as good as if you're right there. And what I tried to do this weekend was coach a lot. Really, you know, I'm a big fan of we're doing whatever we're doing, the scenario, the exercise, and then I'll go stop, and everybody will just stop, and then we kind of go to the handler, or go to the decoy, or go. You may, what does it say? You can miss so much in translation. Yeah, you can. Lost in translation. So and everybody was open. You know what I mean? And that's the big deal. So if you're trying to do bite work, behavior, and you have a handler, let's just take behavior. Say you have a dog that has resource aggression, and you haven't met that handler, you haven't met that owner, and you're trying to give them advice. I don't know anything about them. I don't know anything that, you know, what's causing the problem. And so many people just go by a textbook, and she's not watching, but Emily, if you see it later. Greg Stanton, beautiful dog you got there, buddy. People just go by, and they don't realize that it's not paint by numbers. It's not, you can just read a book and you go, this is how you fix this. Sometimes what you think you have a problem with really isn't, and you have to watch. You have to watch the person's interaction. Like I was working with a gentleman who's shut up. Hill, seriously, Hill, don't start. I was working with a rather large gentleman who has a relatively small dog, and he made a correction, and I didn't know, you know, that he could levitate a dog, so we had to kind of, and he wasn't trying to do anything wrong. Oh, okay. So I had to kind of go, okay, all right, we're gonna calm down. So there's level of correction, there's touch, there's footwork, there's, you know, I was watching somebody backing up, wasn't really aware what was behind them because they're so focused, and someone else has to be the eyes there. There's just so much touch. There's so much where you have to say stop. So if someone's in Europe and I'm trying to teach them online, there's just no way. I mean, maybe you can get away with take the food, put it over the dog's head, that's it. Bring the food down, maybe, but that's not dog training. That's teaching positions. Dog training is a much more complex animal than what people really think it is. So if anybody was there at the seminar and they want to come on, I would be glad to talk to you about it. I just think that what you get from the experience of being there is so much different than anything I could ever put on video. Even if I did my best to put it on video the right way, I just don't think you're going to get what you need out of it, you know? Oh, you tried, Hill? All right, let me try again. Let me see if I can tag you at Hill. Oh, why? Why does it do that? That's weird. Keep trying, Hill. Hill is funny. Oh, here it is. Bring Hill in. Add you, Hill. Let's see what's up. We'll come to Europe. Yeah, well, I'll shut down my business for a couple months and just go over there. There he is.
Yeah, there we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Hill with his avatar dreadlocks. I can't hear you now, Hill. Are you there?
There we go. There we go.
Yeah. There you go. All right. So yeah, I can't believe you're driving. You know, I said, oh, I'm going to make a rule where if you're driving, I'm just going to shut you down.
Oh.
See, that's why. Okay. Well, kiss your housemate Des for me.
My what, mate?
So
I actually just pulled over.
Your housemate? I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
I know
you guys seem very close.
No, actually, just because we argue like that doesn't mean that we are an item. That never will happen. Okay. Ever.
Never say never.
No, that's a main thing. I'm not from there, so.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you were at the seminar. Do you think that I could have conveyed, or Clay could have conveyed, even Dylan could have conveyed anything to you guys as close as and how precise as what we got it online?
Honestly, that's impossible. I think honestly, it would take a whole lot. What I saw was a lot of things were intuitive. Like you can see certain things with the camera, but then there's things that you were picking up on, everything from the licking of the lips to things that a lot of dog people may know. But then there's other body parts that you may not be able to see depending on angles, and also the person's timing and all that. With the way videos go anyway, unless you're sending them the video to let them watch in hindsight. If you're trying to do real time, you have to worry about latency. So you're telling them to correct, and then you still have a little short period of time of air beforehand, and you can miss that mark, and then now you're actually marking the wrong thing, and the dog's thinking that, okay, if I'm leaking, that's what they want me to do, or something like that. So that's part of it. The other side of it is you preached a lot about feel. So we talked about a lot of things about theory and things like that, like as far as like what you should do in certain situations, but everything isn't about just cutting dry, cookie cutter approaches to every dog. I picked up that a lot of the stuff that we were discussing was you need to get a feel. Some people ask some definitive questions like, okay, so wait, look, if I have a e-collar, can I put the e-collar on? What you think? 4 months, 5 months is when I can put it on? He's like, when the dog's ready. Like yeah, exactly. You got to be able to feel things out. And I mean, and you saw very well that in our crew alone, for the dogs that were litter mates, you saw very different, not just the colors and you saw very different personalities. Reaction to certain things was different. And also in given situations, some dogs had a different type of a level of alertness or whatnot. And it wasn't just on the training. I think it was part of what we talked about as they were developing as young dogs. We say, okay, well, this dog's this way. This dog doesn't care. Just tell him what to do. He'll do. He doesn't care. This dog, we're just going to put holy hands on and pray for a little bit. I don't know. But
well, Dylan said he did notice a little bit of difference between some of those litter mates.
He said he didn't?
He did. He did. Okay, he said he noticed a little bit.
There's another one that very intermittently trains with us. Very intermittently, he trains a couple other places, but he's a total different dog. Now he's a little bit more calm. He'll do the work. It's like you tell him to do the work, and he's like, all right. He'll get up, put his cup down, go handle business, come back. And the other dogs, there's definitely different personality. But beyond just the dogs, I watch the people. I'm a people person. I watch and I observe. As a younger, a youth or whatnot, I was the quiet person who would sit there observe. I make my deductions, and then I decide how to interact with certain people. So I was watching how people reacted with their dog. I watched how you and Clay reacted, and you guys are like, you're on certain similar planes, but you're still different. So the approach, what's said, how it's said, and also what's seen is a little different. And that's probably from background and experience as well. But the thing that I did take away from all of that was that, I mean, we have clients all the time that call us and they'll be like, hey, my dog's doing this and that. And you'll give them what you think they should be doing in the situation or how to actually deal with the situation. But the problem I find is not just on the difference in interpretation, but that person is telling you, and you're only getting the variables that they give you. There's things that they don't see. There's things that they don't see, and a lot of times, even me personally, I feel like I'm still green in the game. I'm only like 3.5, almost 4 years really on this side of the game for the most part, and I feel like I'm green, and I see things, and I'll discuss it with other folks who have years in the game, and it's like, okay, cool, and I'll meet other people who may have more time than me, but then their eyes, because of the discussions that they may have, or the exposure and experience that they may have, may not see certain things as well. So what that person who's the pet owner or even the person with the working dog sees and interprets is one thing, and what they tell you what it is or what happened and then this is why they think it was may be totally false, and you give them the wrong information to diagnose or deal with the situation that doesn't get fixed because they're pretty much creating another thing. Now it's compounding. Now you're years down the line trying to fix something. And I kind of approach things a little different mentally now.
It's funny. It's my favorite dog that I worked was Emily's. I was saying this before all the people were on. Was Emily's little Malinois that bit me in the hand.
Yeah.
And I got lost in that, and then I was like, oh shit, there's fucking people here, and I was like, oh, this is really boring.
It wasn't enough time.
Yeah, it wasn't enough time.
I mean, granted, you guys compacted a lot in there. The initial, now I will say this, I'm gonna be 100 with you. So the initial beginning, even though I went to school, all that good stuff, cool. I don't like school settings. So my thing is when you get to talking a lot, sometimes I get to doze, and now I'm looking off and everything in between. There were things that I definitely, I definitely was tuned in the sense of listening, but mind wise, it's like I'm in that newer age where everything has to be, a couple of the things.
Instant.
So
Yeah.
by the time we started getting through some of the talking and our experiences and kind of basing what this was about, then you got to the test that you did, the little mental things you did with the people before dogs weren't even introduced until like I want to say just before lunch or something like that. And so it was okay. Let's get you kind of warmed up mentally to the stuff that we're about to go over. So I think that was pretty decent. I did like, in fact, that everyone kind of brought their dogs out. We kind of went through, and each dog, of course, being different, each handler being different. Everyone came from different backgrounds. In my crew, we had different backgrounds before we came together in
Yeah.
the first place.
Yeah.
So a lot of our understanding isn't just one central thing. And I want to say that a lot of people think that James is like the grandfather, godfather, everything with that. James is in there learning with us as well. We all talking. And
Oh, listen, I got a lot of respect for James because James has been around a long time, and he showed a lot of balls
yeah,
because to just humble himself, and it's not like he's got a big ego. He's always been like that to me anyway. And he was like, "Look, you guys," he was right there asking questions, and some I could see sometimes on his and everybody else's faces that it went against what you've been taught. And I
so
said, well,
so
but
go ahead.
I can always explain it.
Yeah. So that was one thing that I did take away. That was not one thing. It's been a lot of things it seems so far, but there was another thing I took away. And your explanation of your mentorship and everything. And that was huge. You kind of you tranched that back and forth like, hey, you definitely want to consider having a mentor. You definitely want to, have someone who actually knows more than you because the YouTube videos alone. And that was one thing I think I don't remember. I don't know if you remember. I said a lot of folks will see things because this is the age of information being readily available.
Yeah.
It's how you digest it, how you interpret it, and how it actually applies to application. So what I
Yeah.
saw and what I heard from you was that you had a mentor. And surprisingly enough, the mentor was on your ass. Well, yeah, definitely. But the mentors were on your ass. And I know the one, I think the lady, I think you mentioned, specifically, you said that you guys don't train the same. So I'm thinking like, wait, what?
No.
I'm like, how do you have someone who kind of grooms you and gets you to, what I'm saying? And that's the equivalent of James taking me out hunting and showing me how to hunt and everything between. I'm like, yeah, I appreciate you showing me this bow and this rifle. I really like the slingshot though. So I'm gonna go with that. You know what I mean? Like, but the end goal was to get to actually, in hunting, pretty much getting getting some game or something. In this resolve, you kind of find your own way by bumping around and meeting different people and finding your own style. That's what James has been encouraging to us. And he's been talking. I mean, he will tell you left and right, look, get the fuck out of Maryland. Like, get out of here.
Yeah,
Go
yeah, yeah,
travel.
yeah,
He said, even if you go
yeah.
places that you don't agree with totally, he was like, there's at least one thing that you can either learn or one thing that you can learn not to do and go
Right,
from there. So, I mean, we
right.
definitely came with a clear slate. And OJ, my brother OJ, Twin Tower over there, he rode with me. And I mean, we talked all the way home. We talked all the way back to the seminar and all the way back home again. And it was like he was. I mean, I saw a light. You know what I'm saying? Something switched. So we're talking on the way home, dog stuff. Then we're talking about how to actually approach clients, how to increase the clients, but they're also choosing because not all money is good money. Like we had a lot of good conversation after the fact. So
Well, listen, Bo Jackson said that
Nick,
because Nick, right? He said you should have heard the conversation in the car. So I can't hear it, and that's the kind of feedback I don't get. Clay doesn't get. People will walk away. They're like, okay, so this is great, and then they go online and trash it, or people are like, this was great, and then
never heard
they
anything
have no
else.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
So
So I
that's
mean, what was that conversation like?
so I wasn't in the car with Dez, but we still conversed later. We discussed, and I'm not gonna go through all your methods and stuff and give away some of the mojo, but we discussed the outs, the whole thing. So we had to develop a sense of faith in what we thought the dog understood and demonstrated, and after we marked and everything. So we had to do a whole process of getting the dog to understand the picture. Stop worrying about the people
Yep.
in the scenario. Get to understand the
Yep.
picture and understand
Yep.
what it means when I do a certain thing and when I actually say a certain thing. So when we develop those outs, when you got the dogs like Black Doug, and also OJ's dog Watt to out, upon which I want to say that we were doing and working outs before, but it was a different scenario. Well, not scenario, it was a different approach in the fact that you had to develop a faith and a trust that what you saw in the dry runs, which weren't intense, which didn't involve a fight, which didn't involve a bite, because you were big on saying that the dog doesn't get a bite. You don't just give the dog a bite. You're not just giving a bite to mark this. You figure out what the behavior. You mark the behavior. Let the dog fail if it's going to fail, so it can demonstrate that it did pick it up. And once it's picked it up, then you go back in and you test that. You see what happens. So not really test. I don't want to say test because that can mean another thing in interpretation. But
you have to have catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
Catastrophic failure. And then you get in that dog's mind and the dog goes, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
And then the dog goes, "Oh shit, I get it."
It was an aha moment with, first I saw it with Doug before he did worked with WAP. And Doug, Doug he's like, okay, cool, we fighting? I'm with it. You know what I mean? And he'll lock in, and Nick has done a good job in different ways of actually getting them out. However, in certain situations, once you build a certain amount of drive, or he's like in a competition, like an Iron Will or something like that, those are intense. You're getting gunshots, you're getting all type of stuff like that. So the dog's like, hey, either I'm going to go or they're going to go. That's possibly what he's thinking. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to fuck this dude up or something and call it a day. Well, in this situation, you had him trust this dog and walk away at the same time telling him to out. And I saw Nick's body, like his language was like, I don't think this is going to work type. Like he's like, he turned around, he's like out, and he's walking away. And it's like, for some reason, I want to say, I got a 2 Mississippi, Doug out, and he looks like, where's Nick? Turns around, takes off running to Nick, and goes to heel away. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. No e-collar, no anything. Like, it just sunk in. Like, I don't know. It just kind of changed the perspective of how to approach certain issues and how to get certain things clear, and knowing that the dog understands that this is what I need of you, no matter what. You know what I mean? This is what I need of you. It's better that we just go ahead and go this route, and that's it. So, I mean, that was
the big thing with Nick and his dog, I saw it when we were doing the civil, and I tried to give you guys as much as I could for the certifications.
Yeah.
In the training, I was trying to feed it to you. I was trying to give it to you, but without giving it away. And when I saw Nick is so calm, sometimes I think he's in a coma. And
Nick. Okay, let me explain. I've known Nick for some time now, and crazy, he knows a lot of my family. They grew up together, played football together, all types of stuff. But Nick he's reserved because, like, he's one of those people that if he's in your corner, he's all the way in your corner. He's calm, he's cool, he's collected. He doesn't want to appear, a certain way if that's not him. So he'll just sit back and he'll chill for a little bit. He'll absorb, he'll sponge. You'll think he's not paying attention, but Nick will sit there and regurgitate with questioning.
Oh, I never thought he wasn't paying attention. Okay. I thought he was paying attention all the time. That's what I mean, is that kid is a studying machine.
When I met him years ago, we kind of started close to the same point, except for he had went through some type of obedience certification through some guy in his, school and programming or whatnot. He went through a couple more things than I had went through. I'm just coming as a pet person, trying to learn the other side of the leash for the most part. And we were sitting there, we're like, we're kind of new. We started kind of messing around with the decoy thing, almost on some bite dummy type stuff at one point for a while. You know how that goes. And people, you want to suit up? Cool. Throw you in a suit, let my dog work and whatever, anything. So he was like, look, he turned to me one day, we're having a beer. He's like, Hill, man, we got to get on this dog shit, bro. I said, what you mean? He said, man. And from then on, he just started sending me random videos on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
It clicked.
The thing that's messed up, though, is Nick will know what's going on. He'll be like, so what you see in that video? I'm like, dog, I'm in a meeting right now. He said, but still, later on, when you get time, tell me what you see. And I'll tell him, and then he'll come back and be like, so you didn't peep that this and this happened? You didn't see the avoidance? I'm like, you're right, but I wasn't trying to put my thinking cap on just yet, but okay, I got it. So he's that type of person.
Well, he does. And how many times did I say to people, what do you see? What do you see? What do you see? So going back to that civil exercise, the dog was myopic on one decoy. And we started to, I think it was Tank, went over, touched his nose, touched his feet. And then when Tank backed away, the dog spun around and looked right up at Nick. And I said, oh, boy, that's what I want. That's it. And
Yeah.
I kept saying to him, I said, you don't know what you have. You have no idea what you have. And then we took that and we enhanced it.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. And sometimes you have to kind of take it apart and then put it back together again.
Yeah.
And but you guys all have a really good foundation, except for one guy, I can't remember who it was. You all have a really good foundation, and I love him. I love him. You know that. I love the guy. But
you guys are beer belly
damn,
buddies. You guys are beer belly
what?
buddies.
Beer belly buddies. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. And it was even the dogs, like what people had to do. So I started the seminar with, do you trust me?
Yeah.
Do you trust me? And then we went through and I separated the people that trusted me and didn't trust me.
And the people that were on the fence as well.
That's right. And over the day, people started moving over to trust, moving over to trust. That's huge to me. That's huge. If you don't trust me, I can't help you.
But
there's no way.
That's similar to what you were doing with some of the dogs who had issue that needed a little bit more hands-on. So the issue wasn't just whatever the problem was that we noticed, but it was also an issue of they don't trust. Some of the dogs didn't trust. It was like, okay, boom, I know this person only. Screw you, screw you. I'm with them, and that's it. So the fact that Dylan was eager to just take people's leads, walk the dog around, and even just some of the about face, the turnabouts and all. Sometimes that conflict can create a whole nother situation, and I gotta give it to the little dude, man. I don't know how old he is, what he's been through in life, but he's got some stones, man. Like he did some things that I probably wouldn't have did hopping into the game off break, but yeah, definitely the trust.
Well, he does it. He does it every day.
There's that.
He does it every day, and that's it. He's 23. He looks like a fetus, but he's 23.
I wouldn't count that.
No, I know. But he's been with me for 5 years, going on to 6. And I mean, and he's also a vet tech. He was a vet tech before he even met me. And he's the guy at the animal hospital. They call him when shit hits the fan. You know what I mean?
That's kind of like, you know what? That's why he's the white Daniel of your group, because Daniel in our group works for animal control. And so when they have dogs that they suspect may have had bite work or dogs that are overly aggressive, he's the one to be like, hey,
they're called.
He'll go in there and he'll be like, oh, this dog he don't want to bite. This is all fear. This is this and that, blah, blah.
Right.
Go in the crate with them and all that stuff like that and change their day for the day. You know what I'm saying? And maybe even get them adopted. Right. Who knows? But yeah.
Right. He and with Dylan is I we're so beat up at the end of a day of behavior that we don't really train our dogs. We just don't have time. And so because that's where the money is in the behavior stuff and in the pet dog stuff. But that's another thing I wanted to get to, is that if you look at, like, I would love to do a problem dog seminar with you guys, like have you come up and see some of my clients' dogs trying to kill you. These are pet dogs trying to kill you.
Yeah.
I told everybody that one dog ripped the calf muscle off the DHL delivery guy. And I always tell people, it's easier to just put the dog to sleep. But pet owners, fuck, man, they're like, no, that is not an option.
Never. Nah.
And I go, get out your fucking checkbook.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to pay. So one of the things I was online looking at, getting ready for today, is that people using obedience, strictly obedience, like puppy obedience, sit, good, down, good, to fix behaviors. And they get a false positive because the behavior won't come out if the dog's getting everything it wants.
Right.
And so they're using teaching obedience, and they're taught to do this in a purely positive way, to get a false positive that's very dangerous, and they don't realize how dangerous it is. So what my philosophy is who's the teacher and who's the student, and that's across the board.
You said it a lot.
It's with the dog. It's with the handler, it's with the student. And there were some people that I couldn't get to believe that I was the teacher and they were the student. And it didn't go well, did it?
Nah, it didn't go too well.
It wasn't horrible, but it didn't go up.
It's just so
but you see what I mean?
No, I see what you're saying, because it was a lot of times where you made us think. So who's teaching? Like, for instance, we were talking about the different tools and everything. it makes me think of a lot of the things that we do with, you know, kids today and everything like that. Who's the teacher? Who's actually watching the child? The iPhone or actually? So the invention of a lot of these great gadgets and multi-million-dollar pet industry type stuff also makes it easier. It makes it lazy for us to actually be the teacher. And so, like, I know a saying that I've heard. It's kind of cliche. If you're not teaching, if you're not training, you're teaching. And it's like, if you're, oh, can you hear me? Okay. If you're not training, then you're teaching. And the question is, what are you teaching? Who's teaching? And is it a moment or opportunity to train? You know what I mean? So like, I think that a lot of times when we have an issue, we'll send a video to James. We send him the good and the bad, the ugly, everything in between, because or even Clay. We actually talk to Clay often as well. So we'll send him videos, and he'll be like, okay, look, this is what I see. This is whatever from the video. Now, you know, what else was going on? What built up to this? Like different type of questions. And then what were you doing to correct? What did you do to what was your approach? And so the reasoning behind that is because if you're using, like you said, e-collar, left and right, or what is it, baby gates and things like that. Like for instance, my dog knows not to go into the kitchen. I taught him that at an
Oh,
early age.
you caught that, huh?
But see, I taught him at an early age. But my
No,
problem
no,
with
no.
that,
You caught it when I was talking to that girl
oh
about
yeah,
the
yeah,
baby
yeah,
gate.
yeah, yeah. But see, my problem with that though is, so I kind of was productive and counterproductive. I taught him not to go in the kitchen, but I think he associates the towel as that. So when I go into places with towel, he's like, "Oh wait, oh can I?"
Right,
Like you mean like so he
right.
starts questioning. And I've been places where we were going to work a dog, and there was we were going to work the dogs, and it was tile in there. It was like he kind of was like less dry. He's kind of like more concerned, looking at me left and right. I'm like, "You're good."
Yeah.
So I mean, but
But people who don't know you did that would think that the dog is afraid of slick floors.
pretty much,
Everything comes with a hangover.
yeah.
Everything you teach comes with a hangover. What you got to do is make that hangover work for you.
Right, right,
And that's the hard part. So you see that, and people are judgy. So one of the things I didn't allow video, and I've been doing seminars for 20 years, and I've never allowed video. In fact, I got into a legal battle with the U.S. Postal Service because they put hidden cameras in after they signed a contract that they said, where I said they couldn't video it, because if they video it, they don't need me anymore.
right.
But also, if they video it, then someone can get hurt, because when I'm there live, it's hard to ignore me. But when you're watching a video, you'd be like
Yeah.
Dez, just fall asleep fucking all the time. So I've never, and I know a lot of people who do seminars just never allow video. So one video that I let out, and it was by design. You guys in the morning said, "Hey, can we video Hadouken going over the wall?"
Right, right.
Yeah. Nobody wants the excuses. I don't care either. I posted that. I don't give a shit. It is what it is, and you know that. I'm like,
yeah. I actually had my ass. Why would someone post that? And I was like, I mean, they post the good and the bad. It's not just a highlight reel. So I mean, he went up the wall. Was he, fully engaged? Then he had another video that came out. I saw of Dylan doing the same thing, and he cleared the wall, went straight in. And I was like, so the precursor, people don't want to know what happened behind the story. A lot of times, a lot of people see what it is. They've already made the judge and jury, and if there's a bias there, then there's a whole nother situation, a whole nother issue with that.
Yeah, and that's fine. And there's a lot of shit back there. Whose fault is it at the end of the day that he didn't engage? Mine. That's it. But that's what it is. But watch, when you put a video out there of good or bad, the vultures come the fuck out.
Yeah.
And so fuck you. I'm not putting up with that. I'm not going to deal with that. If you want to know what I know, come and see me. That's the deal. If you want to know what Clay knows, go and see him.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a better result that way.
Yeah.
But the good thing about video that I see is that like you and I can talk about it, and other people can kind of get another perspective on it.
Right.
But I know now you can go online and be a certified master trainer in 6 weeks and never touch a dog.
Yeah, as long as I got the money, I'm good.
Right.
As long as I,
right.
The thing
it's all about the money.
The thing that I saw, or that I noticed, and this is in no way slighting anyone's program of certification and everything in between, but we've dealt with a lot of folks who come to us that want, hey, I want to get in, I want to come train with you guys and something like that. And we open arms, come through. If you know what I'm saying, if you're really about their life, come through. You want to suit up, this and that. If we've seen that you actually can handle some of that, then we'll put you in a control situation initially just to see how, but we've seen people come through. I've been this and this. I've been, you know, certified blah blah blah, kennel master here or such and such there, and they'll get out there and then they won't be able to read or understand what the dog is actually doing or why they're doing it. And granted, I'm not saying that I can read, you know what I'm saying, the greatest. I'm not saying it all. I'm just saying it's certain things that I'll pick up on. I'm like, hold up. Why wouldn't you? Okay, wait, the dog is uncomfortable here. And why? Okay, you're applying pressure now, but this dog clearly can't handle, like there's different things that I would assume someone who's certified would have, you know what I'm saying, from
Would
being in
know.
the trenches or would know and have experience from. But what I see a lot of, and granted again, I don't have decades like y'all have in the footing in the game to say it, but I'm going to say it. I see a lot of times folks are just mimicking. A lot of times they like, okay, boom, when a dog does this, this is what you
Yeah.
do, versus, you know, why the dog did this, you know, what have you. Like we discussed, James read me out one day. We were talking about bites. He had a dog bit this and that, blah blah. Why did
Yep.
it bite? Was it fear? Was it forward aggression? What was it? You know what I'm saying? What, and that determines why and how you work the dog. You know what I mean? So like a lot of folks don't do that. They see what's on YouTube, they see highlights, they get a dog to bite, and they're like, okay, boom, okay, that's all it was to it. Get him angry, he's gonna bite me. Cool. That's not enough. That's not. You can mess
Well,
around and put some stuff in the dog, and it'd be a huge liability, and you don't see it until you put in a situation and you realize you don't have the control you think you do.
but we had that happen. We had two guys, and I'm not saying any names, both 5 years in. Both 5 years in, admittedly. Okay? One of them was applying regurgitated information and then fucking went white as a sheet and said, here's your fucking dog back. And then the other one went out and handled the business. And so it's about who your mentor is, but it's also that 5 years. Like, what have you been doing in that 5 years? And one guy doesn't care about anything but the craft, and then the other guy cares about promotion and persona and, you know, don't embarrass me and this and that. And you can really see the difference. And one of the things I found is that when you try not to embarrass someone who doesn't have the chops, who doesn't have the experience, it's one of these things. We're not fucking around with bunnies here. We're fucking around with dogs that bite. Even in the pet world, we're fucking around with people getting mauled. We're fucking
Bites in the
around
pet world. A lot more bites in the pet world.
fucking A. And we're fucking around with breeds being banned. We're fucking around with protection work. Like I've seen a lot of videos. There's two kennels that are under investigation now. The off-leash canine one in Rhode Island, and then the other one in San Antonio. That's gonna fuck it up for the rest of us. That's gonna fuck it up for the rest of us. All these people who don't know what they're doing, who know how to advertise and market, and when you call them out, you're a hater. And I'd like to think that I'm calling out easier and more gently than a lawsuit.
Mm.
If you can't take a bloody nose from me, get ready. Get ready.
So I mean, that's from our side of things and what we've dealt with. That's one thing that James and, you know what I'm saying, a lot of our other mentors, we have more than James is not our only mentor, and he actually encourages, you know, talking to other people.
He's great.
Other folks have
He's
told us
great.
the same thing. Be very careful who you're dealing with. You gotta worry about not just what you're training someone and all that. You gotta worry about what their actual intent is, what they'll use it for, because it can be that one kid that, you know, it can be someone you mentor. You took them out, taught them how to shoot. Now that they know how to shoot, now they want to show that they can shoot. You know what I mean? In that one instance, they want to show a family member or whatever. Yeah, I can turn them on, turn them off, and it can be a shit show. Like it's not something that you want to do for everybody. It's really a lot of integrity and a lot of accountability that it comes down to. So,
but if you like, what do you do for a living?
I actually work for USDA full time. And we do everything from extramural funding for everything from like diseases and foods and issues with animals to actual increasing of crops and stuff like that. So it's basically like a research-based funding. So I work.
So I'm gonna
go ahead.
I'm gonna take a course. I'm gonna take a course and do your job and be as good as you in 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
What career?
Let me touch on that as well. So I work with doctors and things like that nature. We actually invite doctors in for pretty much a panel of sorts where we vote on whatever this initiative is. Let's say there's a disease in corn or bees. Bees are dying off. We have an initiative to
Yep.
figure out what it is. All these different research institutions and places are sending their proposals in. We bring in doctors from that field. I work with doctors who may specialize and have at least some interest in that field. They can't do my job.
That's
They've
right.
been there and they have tenure years, maybe decades before me, but they can't do what I do. And in turn, I didn't get my doctorate. So I don't have the information that they have, and I can't apply their knowledge to a situation. I can simply look at, oh, there's a problem with bees. Let's just breed more bees. No, that's not actually the issue. You know what I'm saying? There's everything from, you know what I'm saying, the warming, the temperature, to disease and everything else that I did not know or study, and I can't learn in a year. I sit in those meetings sometime and I get to doodling. Then I start watching dog videos and things. I'm like, yeah, this is not my thing. So I know when I'm out of my league, but I will admit it though.
When you guys, if you ever do come up, I'm going to take you down to New England Reptile Distributors, and I'm going to introduce you to the owner, and he'll give you a private tour. He's a very good friend of mine. He's an awesome guy. He's a super educator. Like, he's almost like a savant. Like, he just goes, you know? So he is doing a lot of work. The timber rattlesnake, or the whatever it is we have up here, is almost extinct. And he was saying to the government who was doing projects on it, I know what's causing it. And there's a couple of reasons, like habitat reduction and stuff like that. But he said there's this fungus that they have, because he has them.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm telling you, and they ignored him and they blew him off because he didn't have the PhD. You don't have the PhD, you don't have the PhD. You know what they're doing now? They're fucking begging him to help them.
That actually is happening right now with the wildfires over in the West Coast, believe it or not. People are assuming, now I know this is off top, but people are assuming that it's just
no, it's not.
Something caught on fire, this and that. Well, some actual institute, small time institute, studied and said, no, there's an issue. There's something to do with the global, you know what I'm saying, the difference in the warming, whatever. I'm not gonna get to that political side, but the difference in temperature has thus created a different, there's a beetle or a bug or whatever that's now overproducing. It has more cycles of mating and producing and production. Because it has that, those are helping to deteriorate, and it's also pretty much adding to some type of fungus or disease that's hollowing out these trees and making them dry, which makes them pretty much kindling out there. So therefore the fire is going way beyond it should in the first place, because there's a lot of dead trees that appears that they're not. Now, they didn't find that until they started paying attention and paying for research for people outside of the government who's supposed to be knowing all this, as well as these other big time institutes that study it full time. They found a small little group, about 20, 30 people that figured this stuff out, and now they're being the ones funded fully.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they pretty much had that information, that intel. They put it out there before. Yeah. It was like, nah, that's what it was.
Right. And, you know, so I watched a bunch of scientists come down from the government scientists, and they have read about reptiles, and they have studied reptiles with books, but they weren't field herpetologists.
Okay.
And when Kevin took that snake out, they about shit. They ran. They left. So it's the difference between being an astronomer and an astronaut.
Right.
An astronomer just sits on the ground and looks up, and it's pretty safe. But an astronaut goes, fuck this, I'm going to go see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they do both. And so it's really hard now. You know, I'm all about craft, and I don't care. I mean, ask anybody in my life. I don't care about money. I don't give a fuck. And it's really, I think people have to see that in me to believe that I'm not trying to steal from them. I really am trying to give you this gift. I'm trying to give you this thing so that when I'm gone, somebody else has it. Somebody else has it. And that's what my mentors did to me.
Right.
My mentors, you know, the first thing was, I'll tell you right now, Cheryl Carlson it still is a mentor of mine. And one of the things she taught me was how to read people. But what she said to me was, you need to sit down and shut the fuck up. You talk too much. And you have to become self-aware before you realize that there's something to learn. While you're trying to show somebody something, you're not open to learning.
Yeah.
You're waiting to talk. You're
listening to reply. Listening to reply. Yeah.
One person said, "You prove to me. You prove to me." Now, I don't have to prove shit to you. Stop talking and listen. Be a sponge. That's what I'm talking about. Little Bo Jackson. He was like,
"Oh yeah, he was on." But see, that's anything. That's one thing I will say, and I'm not gonna sit here and toot my crew's own horn enough, but that iron sharper iron thing
You
is
should.
with us. We like it was like, okay, who's going to the seminar? And it was like, okay, yeah, me and Dez are going, whatever, and all that. And it was some people that wanted to go, so we just kind of like, you know what, we're gonna figure this out. I know y'all want this information, y'all want this knowledge. Whether you can use it or not, it'll be another tool in the toolbox or what have you if we need to call on it. Plenty of times I've heard certain people who mentored me through this thing in the back of my head randomly at times that I thought I retained some senseless information I would not need. And then it clicked to like, okay, wait, here's application. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, I lost you, buddy. I lost you.
Oh,
I lost you.
Lost me still?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you back.
Okay, I'm saying I'm the type of person I learn with the book stuff. It's not my thing. I get lost real quick. I prefer the astronaut where I'm actually going out there putting my hands on things. You can tell me this and that left and right all day. It's gonna get to a point where I'm like, okay, so when are we gonna go out and do this? You know what I mean? Like that's you can tell me, information, anything possible. And it can be some great information. It can save my life. But until I can actually use it or apply it, it's just like, okay, let me put that in the back of every bank. But yeah.
It's funny. I had a conversation with OJ while OJ decoyed, he handled, and he helped out in other ways. And we started to get on the same page. He did something that I guess we weren't clear about. And I walked down and he's like, I got it. Like he already knew what I was coming to talk to him about.
Yep.
And I said, yep. And I could see, like, he was like, he wasn't like, fuck you. He was like, I got it. And then the other thing was, he said, I like to watch people and then learn, and then it helps me. But he also said this hands-on stuff of trying it out. We were standing there and he was just like, hey, you know what? This is good because I've never done this before. But he didn't really have a feel for it in the beginning. You could see his old handling came through, and it was, did I yell at him? Did I scream at him? Did I humiliate him? No.
Nah.
I was like, okay, here's what we need to modify.
So
and yelling time out.
So that's that whole portion of it, the not yelling and flipping out and all stuff like that, giving them that moment to get the aha, because I feel like for me in learning, if you're adding a lot of chaos to it, I work well in chaos in my life that I have control over. I know, but I'm trying to learn something. I don't need the chaos. The question is there. He will watch. He will sit there. He'll say, okay, boom. But he's not sitting there while he'll ask questions like on the side, like, you know what I'm saying? He probably did this and that, because he wants to kind of figure out the reason and the why behind it as well. So he'll figure that out, because then that helps him dictate how he actually reacts versus just doing what he saw solely. So, OJ definitely, he's one of those dudes, when it clicks and it sinks in, like, he's all about it. And he's one of them dudes that's willing to work anybody, dog. The most, like, between him, Dez, and Nick, the baddest dogs that come out, whatever, I suit up. It was like, hold up. Nah, let me lie. Let me see what these bites feel like. And we'll kind of alternate with that. Like, Nick will work a dog next session or whatever. Dog comes back out. Dez will work the dog. We'll be there talking. We'll talk afterwards. The same way we did after the seminar. We'll talk on the way home. We got a little group chat. We in the chat talking back and forth. We'll go back to highlights. Okay, so, when he did this, you know what I'm saying? Why didn't you blah, blah? We got to work on that timing. All right, we got to get Hill in more suit time. You know what I'm saying? We got to get his coordination together, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, and it helps. Like, that whole, the teaching style that we had there with the hands-on was definitely beneficial. I feel that if you're open enough, you can really absorb some information. No matter who the message, my dad told me way back when, sometimes you'll get a message that you don't agree with, but that message is something that you need. So you got to take it for what it is. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yep. There were a few people being taught there and didn't realize they were being taught. And a bigger lesson. And there's always a lesson inside of, those little dolls where they're the Russian nesting dolls?
Not those little wooden ones, yeah.
Yeah. There's always a lesson inside a lesson. And Dylan will tell you, he goes, you never do anything associated with dogs without a reason. I'm like, nope, never. I wanna maximize the handler, the dog, and the decoy every chance I get. And that's genuine. And that's why I do that stuff. When we started, we did that exercise with everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
So I did that because your brain turns into an obedient brain. And now you know how your dog should be when you're
Right.
doing obedience.
Yeah, that was
Do you
part of
see
your,
what I
that was
mean?
part of your sermon. You were saying like
Yeah.
you got to think what think like the dog. What is the dog actually taking from it? Stop humanizing and putting on there the emotional, you know, saying emotions and all your other deductive reasoning. What is the
Oh
dog
yeah.
actually like? That one thing that you said about the dog shutting down was pretty huge to me. You said something to the effect that the dog shutting down can be confusion. It's not that the dog is weak or super handled or soft. It can be merely he's offering behaviors to you because he doesn't know the behavior that you really want him to do in the first
What
place.
the fuck?
So he's like, well, fuck, what do you want? Sit down,
So,
stay, or what? Roll a 7? What do you want me to do? Like, so yeah, that was pretty decent.
and so many dogs get washed out, and I'll take them. I'll say no, 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 no. That dog's not quitting. And nowadays everything's a fucking courage test. Everything's how much can the dog take? How much can the dog take? Oh my God, there's no skill there. There's no skill there. And so when you get a dog that's just insane, like we had a dog that didn't shut down.
Yeah.
He didn't shut down.
At all.
How trainable was he? How trainable was he?
Oh, he was
How trainable was that dog?
I think it was trainable. Honestly, I think it was.
Not at that seminar, he wasn't.
No. Not at the seminar, no. I mean, but that's no different than someone not willing to receive, you know what I'm saying, information. You were trying to give
right,
them.
but what I'm
Go ahead.
But what I'm saying is that
I was saying that you were trying to find the communication, the avenue to get what it is. And that was the thing too. You were saying like, a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with was communication issues. You see that with a lot of people who train, see that with pet clients left and right. It's not just that they don't know about dogs, it's the communication, that gap. And that in that gap, that whole what reality is, what your expectation is, and the disappointment in between when you don't meet that expectation. And so when that disappointment lays too long, that's when people start dumping dogs, culling them, and everything else in between. When they don't realize that either the dog's told you what it is, or your expectations of the dog are false, and you haven't read what it is or communicated enough for the dog to understand. So it was some things that I knew beforehand before coming there. I'm not gonna make it seem like everything you taught me was something that was everything that I ever learned about dogs. However, the way to think about things inversely, as well as the way the dog interpret things beyond just getting the dog to do certain things, was a little bit clearer. So,
well, and the thing is about the shutting down. I've watched dogs. I've been there. I've seen it on video that the person wants the performance, and they only have one dimension to get it, and they're very used to a dog will give them a certain style of dog that will a temperament, a thought process that will give them that. And when they don't get that, they don't know what to do, and then they get frustrated, and the dog shuts down. And so the dog isn't shutting down because it's a quitter. The dog is saying, look, I don't know what the fuck you want from me.
Yeah.
I do not know.
I'm damned
but then there's dogs, damned if I don't. Yeah. Right. And then there's dogs that they get smart, right? Where they know what you want, and they go, oh, I don't want to do this. And they just lay down. And you go, oh, hell no. You're not laying down. You're not going to use shutting down as an excuse. But you've got to be smart enough and have enough savvy to understand when they're doing that.
Right. And
that's both of those things are directly related to the human's end of the leash.
Right. Gotcha.
And my motto at my shop is, it's not the dog, it's you. Embrace the suck. And that's how it has to be. So when you look at it and you go through all the things you went through, because it was intense. Like, we didn't stop for hours and hours and hours, and we were just going and going. It was hot and it was crazy. Definitely. And I think that you get to a point where you're task saturated. You can't put any more in your head.
You can get mentally fatigued, and the physical may come later, but once the mental sets in, it's like, okay, now am I doing this just, you know what I'm saying, as a rep? Is it actually clean? Am I doing a service here to the dog, whatever, for the dog, or am I just doing this to be done with it? So. Yeah,
there's a thing I'll show you guys when you come up about getting that peak performance, and it's everything after that peak is a correction. Everything after that aha moment is a correction. So when you get that dog, like remember when OJ was walking up from putting his dog away and he hadn't smiled all fucking day?
Listen.
And he was like,
hey, OJ couldn't stop smiling, man. You thought
No,
he
he
won the
couldn't.
lottery.
So I was like, that's it. That's it. It's only going to get worse from there. It's only going to get worse. So you quit. And I have people that'll drive and work. They'll drive an hour. They'll work 15 minutes. And that dog is just smoking on all 8 cylinders. And I'm like, you're done. And you got to do reps like that. And then you expand that peak so you can, so that dog's just like that all the time.
Right. Okay.
And and that's what you want, because you can go to the well too many times. You can just keep going, and it's too much for that dog. It's just too much.
That sounds eerily similar to what James gave me, like somewhat of a metaphor type deal. He said, well, think about it like this. You got a son. You teach him to play basketball. Yeah, shooting around is fun and stuff like that. Then you start getting to some of the fundamental stuff. You have him shooting free throws. It's fun at first. You play horse or something like that. Now you done had him do 1,000 free throws in a day. His arms are sore. He's tired. He comes the next day. He's like, yeah. He sees the basketball. Like, I don't really like basketball anymore. You know, I'm good. Now you done made it to the point where instead of taking it incrementally, and that was the thing too. We're saying certain things we probably need to slow down. Certain things we need to break down a little bit further. But by giving him the chance to enjoy it, extending, you know what I'm saying, eventually, you know what I'm saying, incrementally, that changes beyond the flash. Okay, boom, we need to work this dog for 5-6 minutes straight when a dog only needs, you know what I'm saying, a 2-minute interval. He did good here, boom, put him up on the win, come back out, it's fresh, he's eager to go back again at it, boom. So
It's the two rules of comedy, or the rule of dog training comedy, is always leave them wanting more.
Exactly.
So if you put your dog, if you do bite work and all your fucking dogs love to bite, all of them, every one of them, okay? That was never the issue, right? You put them in a crate, you show them a decoy, and then they get a bite, and you out them, and then you put them in a crate. Do they want to come back out and do that again right away?
Yeah, you said, do you put them in a crate? Bite?
Yeah, do they want to come right back out?
Yeah, I mean, for a quick session like that, they get the bite, and they're like, that's it? You know what I mean? Like,
right. So do they do the same thing for obedience?
Nah, it's not the same. It's not.
So you want both. You want that dog to come out and go, are we fucking healing today? Let's go. Are we fucking downing today? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. I should have asked you a couple more questions that dawned on me later on when I were talking about reward. Your interpretation, not you, I'm saying the person's interpretation of reward, beyond just the timing and all that stuff like that, and the marking. Because I mean, I had a discussion with someone who was saying that, you know, I don't believe in food, ever using food. I don't ever believe in using toys at all whatsoever. My voice is all they need is reward and everything like that. And so, I guess I was gonna.
You have to get there.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, because I was thinking that's something that may come incrementally, because as a young dog that doesn't understand what's going on and what have you, your words may not mean as much to it at the time. You may not have the bond or the rapport where that dog is actually, you know, okay, but I needed to hear that, or the affirmation is what I needed. That may not be there. You know what I mean? So
right, it's romantic. It's romantic to think that. It's romantic to think that. Someone's watched too many Lassie movies, and it's just too much.
That whole "my dog wants to please me" mentality.
Yeah, no. It's hard because so what motivates you is going to be different than what motivates Dylan. What motivates Dylan is going to be different than what motivates Amir. And so you've got to find that motivator and bring it to where you need it, and then get away from it. You're transferring the motivator. You're getting the motivator. Okay. Do you understand what I mean?
I got you.
So it's like one of my kids was having problems with math, but he loves fishing. And so the teacher, really cool teacher, actually a tutor during the summer, said, well, let's go fishing. The kid didn't even know he was learning math. He didn't even know. He had no fucking idea. How long is that fish? Let's measure it. Okay, well, mine's bigger. No, yours is 1.25 inches smaller than mine. They're doing fucking math.
Right.
That's the way you get it, where the dog is like, look like OJ. That's what you want. And you start to get that from the dog. The dog's looking up in your eyes. The dog's giving you everything. And before, the dogs were offering shit to get the bite.
Right.
It was almost like you weren't even there.
Yeah. Then that whole touch thing too. Like when we saw it, everyone was like, there it is. Okay. Now he's tuned in. He's like, okay, boom. I don't want him to move. If he moves, I'm moving with him. I know if I do right or whatever, in some way, shape, or form, I'm going to get it may not be a bite, but I'm going to get a reward some way, shape, or form.
One touch,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
touch. And how much praise were we using?
Actually, minimal. It was no good. It was not. Don't give me all that. When someone said "good boy," you say, "Ah, fuck." It's like,
Yeah, I'm
nah.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah,
Because that all has, if you take a dog, right, a pet dog. So do this when you get a pet dog client. They say sit, and the dog sits, and they go, good boy. That dog will get up. So good boy doesn't mean you're doing a good job. Good boy means that shit's all over. It's a dismiss command.
that means you've done what I needed. We're good now, type deal.
Right.
So I usually tell clients. Now, granted, I don't call myself a trainer. I just work with my trainers. But when we have like small, like pups, young dogs, stuff like that, when it comes to certain things, I'll give them tidbits that not only that I've regurgitated, but things that I've actually seen and that we've done and whatnot. I've seen executed in theory and all. So what I would tell them is think about the story about the boy that cried wolf. You just keep on saying this word, and eventually it's desensitized. Just like you keep saying no as a puppy. Yeah. It's like after a while, it's like, oh, that's part of my name. Like that's something whatever. They don't even think of it the same. It doesn't have the weight. Yeah. Whereas my dog, I started with the word leave it, and that eventually became my out or whatnot. But it got to the point where I can say no. I was out back, and this was my fault. I'm in the back of townhouses and all, and I'm out there playing with my dog. No one comes back there ever. So I guess a guy was looking at a house at the end of the row of houses, and he walks back, he peeks, out and comes back. But I saw him last second. I thought my dog was using the bathroom still. He had stopped cocking his leg, tail full erect, and before I can say no or stop, he had took off running. Now he probably was about 20 feet from dude, and I was like, no, here. He was like, he heard no. He's like, oh, he about shit a brick. I said, here. He came running back to me, and I was like, oh shit. I could just give him a word or whatever as a reward, but some praise. But I remember there was a football that we had earlier behind me, way back behind me. So he's coming fast as can be, and I'm backpedaling. Hey, ball. He runs against the ball. He forgot the dude was there. Everything in between. I went into after the ball. I get the ball. We're playing whatever. I tell him to out. He outs it, whatever. Put him into a heel. He's prancing and everything. I was like, okay. We went from like him really wanting to figure out who the hell that was, peeking, because he did just like how OJ does when we working. He's peeking, making him suspicious and everything. So he was like, oh, I'm gonna get this dude. Oh yeah. He's no equipment. I got him. But it was that fact that I was like, okay, boom. No meant a lot more to him than what I'm saying. So giving that good boy and all stuff like that. I try not to do too much, and they tell me not.
Well, and the other thing, no gets a lot of dogs killed. If a cop's sending their dog and a guy takes out a gun, they go no, and the dog lays down.
Yeah,
blam. You gotta see what the hangover is from everything. But what was interesting with James's dog and a couple of other dogs was they wouldn't out on the out command, but if you said down, they heard it.
Oh yeah,
they heard it. Mm-hmm. If you said sit, they heard it and they let go. Yep. Amir's dog, you say down, and he didn't let go of the bite, but he laid down. And so I thought that was cool. But that's because
we call it the sitting grip.
Yeah. But if you hear, I was down in Texas, and this guy, real cool guy, comes over to me and he says, this was fucking 15 years ago, and he comes over, he says, excuse me, sir, can you decoy for my dog? And I said, yeah, sure. I said, what are you working on? Well, we have a little problem with his out. He don't out good. I said, okay. What's your dog's name? He said, his name's Doc. I said, okay. Bring him out. And this guy's like so reserved, right? Uh-huh. He's like Amir calm, right?
Okay.
And then he comes out and I let the dog bite. Big fucking Johnson American Bulldog just starts shaking me around. And he's like, get that motherfucker! Get him! Get him! Get him! Right? And I'm like, holy fuck. Like, I'm looking at the guy, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, out! That the dog just hears that as get the motherfucker. He doesn't hear it. And I said, just whisper, out. He said, out. And so I said, okay, cool. We create the problems we don't want. Never get higher than the dog. I don't know if I said that.
Yeah, you did. You said like 4 or 5 times.
Don't get higher than the dog. And so many things that we do are designed. That's why you need that constant coaching to get someone who's been there and failed through it a
Yeah.
million times. Like I tell people I've screwed up more dogs than parvo. So you
Damn.
go through it and you just keep going. And now you don't have to make all those mistakes. But a good mentor will let you make mistakes that you need to make.
Yeah.
So you can understand it. So I mean, it's funny. So I wanted to ask you too, because I know I had said on the Muzmuz interview that if I wrote 3 scenarios, no one would pass.
Uh-huh.
Did
So
did anybody did
nope,
anybody pass?
nobody passed, but surprisingly enough, so when you said that, my thought was that okay, you're gonna get in these dogs' heads, and you're gonna be out here. I mean, granted, I know that's not your thing, but you're gonna be out here running dogs or something crazy. I appreciate you allowing me to be a decoy actually as well, some of it, and helping out. And it wasn't as much of okay, we're gonna bring all this actual fear, we're gonna Jedi mind screw people left and right. It was, are you thinking application to real world experiences? Because a protection dog is just that, a real world dog, not just a robot that's doing these different I guess scenarios that are
It's
just
not just
repetition
bite.
patterns. Right. And
Yeah.
it's not all biting. That was one thing too. So
Mm-hmm.
the failure, a lot of times, actually it was in between the dog and the handler, but the handler was interpreting what they assumed that you wanted when you didn't give the direction that this is what I want. You just told them, saying certain things of protecting yourself. That's it, type stuff. And the thing was, without giving it away, was a lot of the people, I guess, had to figure out, okay, wait, hold up. I'm thinking I can do this because this is what I would do in a sport, or this is what I was taught to do, versus what would I do in a real situation.
Mm-hmm.
Protecting yourself isn't always running to a threat. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was a lot that probably just makes you think a little differently in self-preservation. It also makes you think it also makes you a little bit more attentive. One thing that I liked about it was we talked about the healing and the focus heal and all that stuff like that, but in the application of trial um, and protection, as well as a real protection situation, um, it really varies. I mean, you can probably teach 2 different heals, but me personally, I'm not gonna say I'm totally against it. But if you're competing in a sport, you have to focus heal, then fine. But for the most part, I want my dog to do what I do. When I walk in, I assess. So what's over there, what's behind me, things like that, all the little stuff like that. And I think that that's part of the thing too. It's a lot of little tidbits that people overlook because they want just the meat and potatoes per se, but it's a lot of things that build up to that, and there are little intricacies inside that they kind of overlook. So
Well,
it was a lot of technical fails, a lot of things that people beat themselves over with, but they had a better understanding after the fact. Failure does teach. So
yeah, but we weren't trying to grind anybody about it. We weren't like, fuck you, you didn't make it. Fuck you. I see. There was no ego involved.
the
And at the failure, we went through and
train,
taught.
yeah, and that was
Yeah,
what I liked
that's
about it.
Cheryl Carlson's influence
That
on me.
whole
That's what I learned.
that trial and train thing was pretty decent or whatever. It kind of reminds me of pretty much, okay, I used to car club, race cars here and there, and also like that. We used to go to the track often. We still do here and there. I haven't been as much because of dogs and everything else. But
Right.
you do a test and tune. You do a trial run and also like that. See what your time is. You go back. You make an adjustment. So you can
Yeah.
have a badass system, a mean motor, everything. You can have the suspension you need to plant the torque, all that good stuff. Until you get out there and you have to you realize
Got to dial it in.
yeah, I may have the best components here, but yeah, this is doing a little too much here. I need to go ahead and tweak here, whatever. Okay, boom. This track or this trial requires this, you know what I'm saying? I need to change my tires. I need to change, how I approach this track and how I warm up. I gotta warm the tires, how I warm and do the dog, you know what I mean? My routine before I go in the field or anything like that, and actually how I problem solve. That changes as well. So it was just an eye opener in the whole cookie cutter things, the stuff that we are told and taught, the stuff that we actually apply, depending on if you're sport or you're just trying to do protection, and then realizing when to use those different things and those different tools. That's kind of what I took away
Well,
from it.
and people who are doing protection sports now, there's very little protection in it. And they don't teach tactics. They don't teach that stuff. So my thing is that if you see people, they get fucked up when they have to trial their dog, like they get nerves.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then you start making them think at the same fucking time. If you do it this way, and then you go to PSA and you know what the pattern is, you're not going to freak out.
Right.
You're not going to freak out.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite moments was when Amir came in and looked at the ceiling to see if there was some shit going to drop on it.
Oh, yeah.
See?
Now, Amir,
Yeah.
he was
Amir started throwing knuckles.
Like, he was punching. I was like, oh, my God, did he just swing at me? I was like, I almost was like, hold on, do I got my pocket knife on me? This is getting real out
here. That's why I said to you, I don't want to get shot. I said.
I've seen videos of people decoying in suits and the guys jumping on the decoy. I'm like, oh, shit. But this almost got real. I was like, okay. But yeah, you definitely got to pay attention and know your surroundings. This is, again, a protection thing. And I mean, not even just that, distances and everything. Like little small things that you don't think about. Like a lot of stuff kind of brought it to, you know, my mind and whatnot. Even when I'm just playing with my dog and thinking about people, you know, my family members, everything around, I start thinking of different things. I'm paying attention to behaviors and what things I'm picking up on now, and also teachable moments. So
yes, you know, everybody gets a nickname. You know how that is, right? Like everybody gets a nickname. Guess what I gave Amir his nickname? Guess what his nickname?
What's his nickname?
Mr. Knuckles.
Mr. Knuckles. Yeah,
he started swinging.
He came out swinging. I was like, hold up now. I don't want to have to put my hands on the event the host. I don't want to do that. But yeah, he was swinging. But see, I think part of that too, though. I thought about how I guess you were correcting people from all the extra hard and harsh out down when the dog's not paying attention. Maybe the dog zoned out in the decoy, and the yelling to kind of get a, you know what I'm saying, a result, versus the dog being clear enough and understanding, well, I don't know if that's the right term.
Clear.
The dog understanding, this is what I want you to do. I shouldn't have to fluctuate. Yeah. It took me back to what my mom said. My mom had several different tones that she can use and tactics, and not all the time were they loud. I could be in the store and I touch something she told me not to touch or do, and she'd be like, wait till we get home. And it's like, okay. Yeah. No one else heard that. But I'm like, oh, now I'm nervous all the way home. Like, oh man, should I pack a bag and just, you know? So you had people thinking, like, okay, boom, why do I need to get overly excited? Now I'm adding my emotion, and now the dog may be interpreting that beyond it being in drive and, you know, everything else, whatever, and it's adding to it. So, and even in that whole redirecting and trying to, you know, different targets and things like that, if you're, hey, blah, blah, you know, instead of getting the dog, hey, letting the dog actually do what it's supposed to do. And that was the thing that you wanted us to do, because you had to see where they were at versus what we can manipulate them to get to, so we can know what to train. So that was the thing that I picked up on as well. So it was pretty interesting though.
It was one of the best weekends I've had in a long time, and it was you guys see, one of the things that's really difficult about teaching protection dogs is, and even pet dogs, you have to be a leader, and that doesn't mean yelling and screaming at the dog. Right. It means that you know what to expect, and you have these expectations. You're like, hey, dog, I'm not fucking around with you. But there's too many people that are like, my dog is my teddy bear, and I love it, and we're going to do protection.
Yeah.
You can't, because the dog's just going to be out of control.
Yeah, totally.
If that dog doesn't have any respect for you, you're fucked.
Yeah.
So you gotta watch that. It's always balance. Everything's about balance. And going back to the original topic is, could you have gotten, if you watched this whole seminar online, could you have gotten what you got out of it?
I probably got some of the sound bites or whatnot, but when you were trying to get people to feel those aha moments, those came from actually some of the hands-on stuff that came from like you and Clay. And then it was also community type stuff, because it was sometimes what people would do, you would have us do an exercise, someone had their dog out, and then you'd be like, so what did you see? And it's like, okay, boom, I saw this, another person saw that, and you're like, all of the above. You know what I mean? Like, it's like this, and this. You have to pay. So I feel that being online, it's not one of those things like I have in my job where you got to get this security awareness and they're telling you all these things, the act of 18, blah, blah. No, this is the actual things that you have to have some type of practicum. You have to actually put your hands in the dirt and work to see what exactly you have, where you're missing out at and whatnot, because a lot of times you'll hear information, you'll hear theory, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I got it. And it's like you put it together that you got it because you've heard it, you kind of received it, but the application is everything. And a lot of the application,
the touch,
the touch and the feel is. So, I kind of felt bad that I didn't have a dog out. I probably could have grabbed a pup or something to bring out there, but it wouldn't have been the same. A lot of these people had their bonds with their dogs already and also some training behind it. But next go around, I definitely probably had something to bring up there. And the guys been The guys behind the
You
haters.
need
So yeah,
you need a dog, man. You need a
yeah.
dog, and that's the other part of that. I would tell you that uh, you guys are a joy to work with, and everybody there was great. Everybody there was awesome, and we really had a lot of fun that second day. And
Oh, the
it
second day
was
was
what I
nuts.
really,
The second day was
yeah,
the second day was dope.
and people going, hey, Chris, can I do it again? Hey, Clay, can I do it again? Hey, Dylan, can I do it again? Can we work on this? Can we work on this? And we didn't turn anybody down. We didn't say, no, no, no. We just kept going until everybody was satisfied.
Matter of fact,
And that's,
you went a little bit above that because even towards the end, I felt like we were at the point where people were like, yeah, I think I'm kind of good. You know, you sit at the buffet, you looking at the plate, you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get another plate. You can go ahead and take this one. It was at the point where you were saying, so did everyone get to work their dog enough? You said it 4 or 5. I counted because I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to suit up if they. So, I mean, I'm like, and everyone was like, yeah, I think we're good. We're good for the most.
yeah,
And then we talked more, so it was pretty
yeah,
interesting. It was pretty interesting in that regard. That a lot of it wasn't just I'm gonna teach you this, take it. All right, cool. It was okay. I taught. We went past the actual rundown. We went through some of the execution. Do we need to go back through this? Is there anything else that we need to
yeah.
address?
What's on your mind?
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty dope as well. So yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
enjoyed
just
myself.
I'm glad, man. And I'll tell you, you owe me a T-shirt with signatures. You know
I
that, right?
got you. No. I owe you 2 T-shirts, and I owe Clay a T-shirt.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
Well, you owe
other
me
shirt.
you owe me one tent and one T-shirt.
There you go. There you go. I
Yeah.
got you. I got you. No
I
problem.
thank you, man. And I'm telling you, anytime you guys want to come up, and I was seriously thinking about coming down and doing a fishing weekend because I got to find out what a croaker is.
Oh, okay, okay. That's no worries. If we set it up, then that's cool. The impromptu after work yesterday probably wasn't gonna work, but I was surprised you were
No,
still
it didn't. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just let me know.
Well, thank
I
you, man.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you too. Thank you very
All right,
much.
no worries. All right, bye.
All right, man. So yeah, so Clay and I were talking today, and we're really thinking about doing some more seminars of different things. And give me a light coming up. We were talking about doing a week's immersion camp where you can stay at the place and just work with your dog and just get it for a week. We're talking about doing weekend seminars, classes, and stuff like that. So watch out for that. Clay, it's funny. Clay is he's amazing. I couldn't even begin to do this without him because he's just like, for me, he's the guy that kind of balances me out and gets everything going in the right direction. Plus, if you saw his dog work, if you haven't had a chance to see him and OC work, it's magnificent. It's I don't have enough superlatives for it, and I respect that deeply. And like Hill said, we don't always train the same way, but you've got to love the result. Like, I mean, it's legit real. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to watch those guys together. Also, I have to thank Amir. And I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this weekend, Amir. You were an incredibly gracious host. It was my pleasure to work with you. You gave my son some private time with the horses. That's a moment he'll never forget in his whole life, and I'm very grateful to you and to your lovely wife. She was awesome. She was just fantastic. So yeah, I thank everybody for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them up here. And again, thanks for a great weekend. Check us out. If you see another CF2 seminar and you want to get in early because we're going to limit the amount of people because it's a long weekend. Thanks for watching.